Hey guys, today we've got an interesting car to take a look at. This is the 2019 Dodge Charger Hellcat, and I'm excited to have 707 horsepower, 650 foot-pounds of torque at my disposal today. And that means we're going to definitely do some driving. We're going to check out what is it like to be behind the wheel of this monster, and is this a car you guys should consider? Because guess what? This car's been out for a little while. Even though it's 2019, the Hellcat's been around for a few years. And I think on the used market, this could be a really interesting buy in the next couple of years. So let's see if it's worth buying, worth considering, and how much fun we can actually have. So we're gonna do that right now. Tell you, I'm not feeling super planted right now. This car is a riot though. I mean, you step on it and instantly what happens is your forearms stiffen up, your back tightens, your eyes widen, and you just pray to God that the thing goes straight. That's pretty much what happens when you hit the gas pedal in a Hellcat. Wow. So what is it like driving the Hellcat just around town on the daily? Well, I haven't had this car long enough to speak to the long term, but what I can tell you is from a short term perspective, I mean, it's a normal car. It's just that right under the pedal, like right under the gas pedal, you can just feel it. It's just enough pressure that vibrates under your right foot, and it's asking, it's begging you to just lean into it. And when you do, you're gonna cause a big problem for yourself, because you're gonna find that in town, there is nowhere for you to go. You run out of road real quick. I feel like this car is really made for places like Texas or Florida, where there's a lot of straight highway and not a whole lot of, obstacles in your way, like a corner. Here's another factoid between this model year and the 2020. This car actually has, believe it or not, hydraulic power steering. That is awesome. Now the new one is all electric, and I don't know, I can't speak to how they've actually dialed that in or not. Maybe it's fine, but I appreciate that this is actually hydraulic, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm getting really good feedback through the steering wheel. There is one little issue with the steering though, which is in a straight line, if you were to step on it, all the weight transfers to the back. I mean, everybody knows that, but because this car has so much thrust, it actually really takes a lot of the weight off the front. And so your steering gets lighter in the front as you're stepping on it. So imagine this, you're maybe just rolling 20-30 miles an hour, you step on it, all the way goes to the back, your back end gets squirrely, and not just that, but even though it's squirrely, you actually have less feedback on the front through the steering wheel. It's kind of like an appetite for destruction. It's like a whole bunch of bad events lining up. So it takes away confidence from you, which is so interesting. But if you just drive around like you normally would, or if you try to have like a spirited around a couple of corners without like trying to drag race or something. The steering's great, and so I find myself loving and hating it just depending on the situation. All right, so let's talk a little bit about body types, and specifically this car is a narrow body, and it's actually the last year of the narrow body cars. The 2020 is, if you're gonna get the Hellcat, you're gonna get the standard wide body, which means you get some fender flares and you get 305 tires all the way around with actually a wider wheel, so it actually fits properly. Now, I'm more of a wide body kind of guy look, so that would appeal more to me. However, there is a benefit to having the narrow body, which is, and not many of us will feel this benefit, but it's there if you want it. You could take the narrow body up to 204 miles an hour. It's just a little bit sleeker, and because of that, it actually can go faster. Now, unless you're on the Autobahn, I don't know how much that's gonna matter to you. But the wide body car does do about 196 miles an hour. So definitely slower, much slower. Give me my wide body, I'll take that any day. There is one thing that I wish Dodge had kind of just held back on, and it has to do with production numbers. Because this car is special. This motor is amazing. And yet, because they make so many of these, and you could just go to the dealership and buy one now, I just feel it detracts from the specialness of what this car could have been. And like, for example, if they only made, you know, 2,000 a year for 2 years, you know this would be a collector's item. Now, I know what you're thinking, and you'd be right to think it. If that were the case, people would scoop them up, they'd probably go for 50K over MSRP, and you'd never see them on the roads. You're absolutely right. They would just sit in collections with no miles on them. But it is kind of interesting, because if I were buying this car, I would want it to be something unique, and it's kind of not because of how many they make. And keep in mind, there's higher trims now too, with the Daytona package. There's the red eye. There's other stuff coming. I mean, Dodge has to keep upping the ante at this point. And, you know, I mean, kudos to them, and it's working for them, and they're putting these motors into almost their entire lineup. But I just wish it was a little bit more reserved for something limited. Another tidbit about this car is that this is the oldest car, or chassis if you will, in the Dodge lineup. And it's probably one of the most usable platforms they've got. So it's amazing to me that with such an older car, I mean, really underneath the skin and everything, this is a pretty old car. This goes back to the Daimler, Chrysler, Mercedes partnership days, that this car is still selling as good as it is. And, you know, that really shows that Dodge is listening to its customers and, you know, coming to a conclusion of, we want to give people fun. We want to give people something that they can use every day, and that's going to fit the American lifestyle, which is usually a bigger family and or a bigger bodied person, and at the same time not leave that fun muscle car feeling behind. How rare is that? So we're going to talk about the interior now. Okay, so this interior is relatively nice. I mean, you get some pretty nice feeling leather on the steering wheel. You got your paddles here if you want to use those. This is, I think that there's some other options here obviously that we don't have, and I'm not sure which those are. But what's cool is you can answer your phone from here. You can make dials. Your cruise control stuff's there. That's fine. You can see on the dash, you get the normal red gauges like you would with any of the SRT models. The fuel economy gauge right there is sort of interesting. But the real interesting thing here is when you go here and you click this SRT button, that pulls up this screen and you can go through the different options here for how you want the car set up. So if it normally defaults on auto, And it's really interesting because if you look here, you get an eco mode. And the eco mode actually lowers the power. I think it's in the 500s instead of the 707. The transmission shifts a little less abruptly. You don't get paddle shifters, and the suspension softens up for the street. And you kind of get a sense of stuff like that. Now, you can customize it and change it to how you want, or you can go into their sport, which, as you can see here, it changes those settings, and then the ultimate, which is the track. That's where you got literally the all of the like traction control and stability control. That's all gone. So really, you're on your own at that point. And in order to get that, you have to be using the red key, not the black key, of course. And you know, there are some interesting graphs and stuff that show like G-forces and power. Oh, looks like for whatever reason there was an error just now. Not really sure why. Let's try this again. But you know, overall, it's a really interesting approach to how to use this this whole interaction between how you want the car to behave and how you set it. Another thing to note is with the Hellcats, you do get this real carbon fiber trim, and it's here and here, and that's kind of a nice touch. Everything else is like the typical like plastic injection molded kind of stuff. So you know, I don't know if you'd want that or not. Food for thought. All right, guys, thanks for joining me and for going on this wild ride in this Hellcat. What a beast that it is. And a couple of thoughts. The first one is, you know, as powerful and as amazing of a motor as this is, and as much fun as I've had driving it, it made me wonder, if I owned it, do I even have the ability to use it? I mean, like really use it. It's like at any given point, I found myself finding reasons to step on it, but really you can get yourself into a lot of trouble on regular roads. I don't know if this is a track car for me. I don't think this would be my choice. So unless you live in Florida or Texas and have super straight highways that you can just open it up and enjoy, this might be sort of a frustrating own. So what else can you do? Well, lucky for you, Dodge got you covered there too. They have the Scat Pack version, which is right around 500 horsepower, which I think is more of the sweet spot for 90% of the buyers. So for me, if I was going to go down this route to look for a fast four-door saloon, I think I might do that instead. But that's just my thoughts. What do you guys think? Send me some comments down below, like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.